Hello, lovely people. Welcome to the What the Candidate Says podcast. Today I have Anna Smolina with me as my special guest. Hi, Anna. How are you?
Hi, Elif. I'm good. Happy to be here.
Thanks for joining me today. We will discuss, I'm so excited to talk to you about rarely publicly spoken things about our experiences in interview and hiring processes. So before we do that, tell us about yourself, please.
Absolutely. So, I am Anna. I live in Berlin, in Germany nowadays. I'm originally from Russia, and I started my career actually not in data, but in marketing. So, my first 5 years I spent in marketing in different industries, mainly brick and mortar. Um, then I moved to analytics. I had actually a relevant education in this area, but I never thought that I will be working so much hands-on, so in depth in data in particular, in tech and more general direction. So I worked for the companies like Stepstone, Aviv Group, which is part of Axel Springer Classifieds, Home Day, different companies, different industries in variety of the data leadership roles, starting myself as an analyst and then building and growing and optimizing various teams of data analysts, engineers, data stewards, working on different strategic projects and them. So it was a fantastic journey. And then now I am actually searching for my new role, and I'm excited to be here to discuss a bit how this experience looked from this side.
Yeah, you're a great guest in terms of having recent experiences in hiring. So you have really fresh memories. And I guess we can call you seasoned leader coming from the kitchen hands-on experiences. So this makes you also special having experiences on both sides.
I think so, yeah. And I think what also helps is working for Stepstone, which is a job board, which was actually a platform serving both candidates and recruiters. So not only I had to search for jobs myself and then hire for my team extensively in different companies, but also create the platform that would serve this market in two directions. And all of these experiences have very different take on how it should look like.
Yeah, you can interpret things in very deep levels, I guess, in terms of your communications with recruiters or hiring managers.
I try.
So, when you think about your overall experiences, maybe your recent memories, can you recall an interesting interview experience? It can be good or bad. What comes to mind?
I had several. I'm searching now for the variety of roles. And in the past 7 years or so, I was actually in this very luxurious position. Market was amazing. I didn't have to search. Job was finding me, when I was sitting there and choosing between the opportunities. And now this changed, and there is naturally less opportunities on the market, especially as I developed myself hierarchically and on the level while I'm searching, there is just much less available naturally. But also market is not in a great state right now. I feel many companies are very cautious about hiring, following, this very active period of growing the teams during COVID times, which created a lot of opportunities for many companies. But now when I'm searching, I'm looking at various roles. I'm mainly driven by the mission. So I look whether the company that is having an opening has something interesting. Can I create an impact in this particular role, and what can I learn as well in this role? These are probably the two most important factors for me. And those can be on different levels. And it is amazing how different the interview experiences can be, and I think one of my favorite interviews was this was for the startup. This was a role of the data lead for the startup. But what made this interview amazing is my counterpart. So the recruiter who was actually searching, it was the first example of a very active listening. You know, sometimes when you're in the interview, you have a feeling someone is having this checklist in front of their face and they're like, okay, we need to cover these competences, we need to ask these questions, you know, and especially when it's about comparability of the candidates, because this is something I know from my past as well. You have 10 candidates, you need to have some sort of factors to compare them. But here I had a feeling that not just I'm having a dialogue, but this person is genuinely interested in me and my experience, you know, and asking very relevant questions from me. And that made it extremely enjoyable.
Mm-hmm. Someone who loves their job, I guess, right?
Yeah, sounded like it, or someone who is naturally very curious about the people they're talking to.
That's definitely very important for all of us. And you mentioned about this comparison now, things are being so much more different. I don't remember if you were also searching for a job during COVID time, or it's
Yeah, I had a funny story because I quit my job a week before pandemic broke out. So I submitted my resignation on 4th of March, and on 13th of March 2020 things started, you know,
yeah.
and my plan was actually to travel for about 6 months, and speak of the most unlucky timing ever in this regard. So in that case, the job actually found me. So there was an offer from my network for the role that was at Aviv, this transformation interest in big project. And while normally I'm not sure if I would have gone for this immediately because I plan to travel, here we managed to agree that I will shorten my travel a bit and I would join the company. And I think it was twofold for me. So the mission was interesting, and there was this huge insecurity about, you know, like how things are gonna work out during COVID. How was it for you during
I
COVID?
have very similar experiences. I was unemployed also during COVID, thinking also like I will take it easy for a while, then I will find something. Of course, I didn't know about the COVID story, and yeah, it became much longer than I thought. And I was again unemployed during this crisis, and I can also say now it's even more difficult than the COVID time somehow.
Yes, yes, it is. I don't know, maybe it's my personal perception. I think with COVID, the situation was very different, in fact, because there was this first couple of months of panic, but then I think many businesses realized what a gigantic opportunity this presents for them, for growing their business, for shrinking their office presence, for saving some of the resources, moving remote, opening up new lines, you know, all of the delivery services, for instance, they just boomed, right? Like the quick commerce had fantastic period during this time. So this is why during COVID, actually hiring, I was talking to some of my network partners who are recruiters, and they said we never hired so much, or the salaries have never been so high as during COVID period. Now the insecurity is very different. In more long term, we see very negative consequences of the market condition. We see the energy prices rising, we're seeing the banks collapsing, we're seeing the interest rates growing, and this has a profound impact on many companies. Although some are still benefiting, of course, because some are always benefiting, but I think the majority of the market is trying to take it easy now.
Yeah, I agree so much. There was still some movement during COVID time in terms of hiring, but right now with mass layoffs and hiring freezes, it's really tough times. Just to remind people, especially who are searching for jobs after graduation or like changing jobs, and they would maybe think like it's because of them, but like reminding them again, like it's the phase we are in, and it's difficult for people for different reasons.
I think you're touching on a super important topic now, because this the fact of being unemployed, it's like a stigma in the market. You know, if you're unemployed, if you have been laid off, especially, you know, or if you left yourself, something might be wrong with you. If you left a bit too early, something might be wrong with you. And you know, you're kind of having this discussion, yeah, but what exactly happened? Like, did you decide to leave or did they fire you? This kind of questions is something that I'm also getting in the interviews, and I understand where people are coming from. And this, what I would like to do is to put the stigma out there and give it a name, because it is not always justified, always reasonable. There are so many reasons for layoffs. There are so many reasons for firing someone. There are so many reasons for just leaving your job after 2 months. And sometimes those are fantastic reasons, you know, and they are in no means, you know, kind of saying anything bad about the candidates. Unfortunately, I had to be on the other side of the layoffs myself. I had to let people go, and I was ready to personally vouch for every single person that I had to let go, because this layoffs had nothing to do with them. It had to do with the company's situation, with financials, and with pure numbers, you know. And it should never be, you know, no one should ever feel that something is wrong with them if they're having struggles finding this new role or new opportunity. However, of course, it is, you know, I have many years of experience now. I'm more resilient than I was 10 years ago. I'm more confident in my abilities. I know that I will find a job, and I'm also more selective in finding not just any job, but the right job. And I still have to remind myself, even sometimes, that being refused doesn't mean that something is wrong with me.
Definitely. It's constant like job, right? Like there are many back and forths. Like, you know, you are confident, you know who you are, you know your worth, but you still cannot make sense of the things, and then this like self-doubt and questioning is coming back, and like it's taking so much energy.
Of course it does. And I think this is also sometimes driven by maybe a bit of intransparency of the feedback. Sometimes companies can't give transparent feedback or choose not to. There are some legal limitations in Germany which prevent the companies from openly speaking up, which I think is a big challenge on the market. And this, of course, might play tricks with your minds. But this is all temporary, you know, and this is what I'm reminding myself on, and all of the people, especially the young ones. I remember when I was in the beginning of my career, I just moved to the new country. I moved to Germany. It was actually, I already had 5 years of experience behind my belt. I was very young, and I had to start my career anew in a new country without speaking the language. And I was on the market on the job search visa. And I pretty much, if I couldn't find a job, that's it. I had to leave the country. And I remember how scary it was and what kind of a panic feeling I had. And I don't wish this on anyone. And everything solved itself, right? Like I found a job, it was fine. And all these years later, it is much better, but it's still there. There's always this tiny, you know, inner saboteur or critic who is coming back and who is like, are you good enough? Are you really good enough? How do you know you're good enough? You know, but you have to remind yourself actively, yes, I am. Yes, I am. And there is going to be a role.
It's very common. Like we should just find a way out of this cycle. I wanted to ask you about this, but you already covered like this feedback, the importance of feedback from the hiring managers, recruiters. I hope they are going to have some awareness, like how things are at the moment for the other side, and they become more caring, because like we said, like we are trying to make sense of the things, like trying to understand like what was wrong so we can improve, like to stop criticizing ourselves. If they give us very superficial feedback, it's not going to help at all. It's just going to make things worse.
This is very true. And, you know, this is a problem that's always there. And as mentioned, there is some fear on the market about giving the feedback which might be considered inappropriate, and the candidate can actually go to the court and sue the company. But the thing is that the majority of the candidates are not going to do it. And of course, it would be very helpful to know what is that you can do better, not in this company, especially, sometimes if you're receiving the refusal, there is a standard text, don't hesitate to apply again. And you're like, I don't know why I was refused in the first time. Why should I apply again? How do I know, without ability to fix mistake, if there was something which is a mistake, you can't change, you can't grow. And this is why it's so important. Sometimes, however, because I was on the other side and I know why it's not always possible, and sometimes there are internal reasons. So let's say there is a layoff coming up and the company cannot announce it to the market before it's been announced internally. Or, there is sometimes really the splitting the hair situation, saying, listen, if I had 10K more, I would so much love to hire you, but I don't have them.
Yeah.
And this is something which you can't really tell always the candidate.
Yeah.
But at least you can hint them that, listen, this is not about you. This is
Exactly.
about us.
I mean, there are some risks probably from the company's side, but they want to do a lot in terms of employer branding. And this is an easy way. Like if you give detailed feedback or short but meaningful feedback to the candidates, they are going to remember you nicely because it's the wrap up. Like you remember the end.
Yeah.
I know that one of the companies recently gave me very, very detailed feedback after rejection. They said they were going to come to me with an offer, but their internal plans changed. And the recruiter even read me the scorecards, like in so much detail. It was so nice. I was like, all right, now I'm feeling better. It's not just like me. I didn't fail. So this was very valuable to me. And I talked to many other people about this company, and I said, like, this was my positive experience. We talk with each other, right? We have close network. So it's really important for companies to make good impression.
I agree. I think it's fantastic. And I think it's very brave of the company to create this level of transparency. And it speaks a lot about the culture, or at least aspiring culture of the company. So it is a fantastic experience.
Yeah, but it's not a common practice, sadly.
Not yet, unfortunately.
So we spread the word. Maybe it will happen at some point.
Hopefully, yes.
Coming back to your interview experiences, can you recall any specific question you found so good for some reasons?
Yes, I had a couple that kind of stuck with me, in the last months. Usually the most of the questions, they're pretty standard and they make sense, right? Because what you're trying to identify during the interview is like a speed dating, right? You need to decide, do you want to go on the next date or not? You're just like, are you fit? Are you fit for my needs? But there are these questions. One is from the interview that I already mentioned today, this lady who was genuinely very interested. And she asked me the question, how did you transition from business to tech role? What did you do? And I was like, that's a good question. How did I actually? What is that? What were the exact steps that I did? And I think this question is like triggered some of the self-reflection, which I didn't even follow before for myself. And if I want to change the career now, again, because I'm thinking, of course, like data is fantastic, but I would like to expand my horizons. I would like to move here and there. How do I do it? And it's the same tools. That was a very good question because it was so non-standard and it triggered this, research of your own feelings and thoughts. And the second question was about diversity and inclusion. And that one was, actually, I do love those behavioral questions, although they are sometimes very tricky, so when you're trying to simulate some sort of situation, it's a speculation. You never know how you're going to behave before it happens. But exploring the examples of the past behaviors, I always find very, very helpful when you look at them as the learnings. And the question was, did someone ever approach me for with some issue in terms of being included, or someone reported a harassment to me, and what did I do in this situation?
Well, this is a very tough question to answer.
It is a tough question to answer. It is a tough question to answer. And it was in this moment because on the one hand side, this particular situation never happened, but it happened in different shades, right? Like, so some people would be coming asking for help, and it might not be related to harassment or diversity. It just they needed help with something which they sometimes could identify, sometimes couldn't, and this would be very personal and very sensitive sort of topics, and I'm not going to go into the details on the podcast, obviously, but I think those situations are challenging for every manager.
Mm-hmm.
And there are trainings available to help you deal with them, how to offer help when someone needs help. But this also sort of brought me down the memory lane and helped me reflect on those situations which I had in the past. What did I do well? What could I have done better?
Mm-hmm.
How can I do better in the future?
Wow, both questions were very like strong. Like the first one about your like career change story, like really triggering this like feedback, like feelings, like you have done it. You're so like capable of doing big changes. It's very positive feeling, like
Yeah.
powerful. And the other one is also like I said tough, really, like you need to be very careful how you are answering. And also for like after the interview, it's really nice topic to improve yourself. It's already feedback as itself. Like this is a topic we need to be always very, very careful and knowledgeable about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I feel happy to hear that there are such non-standard questions inspiring us during and after interviews.
Yes. Can I ask you back? What was your favorite interview question?
My best, I mean, overall, there was one interview I enjoyed so much because we focused on the future. Like it wasn't about like what I've done, but it was more about like hearing the setup of the company, the role, the expectations, and like what can you do in this specific case. I was like, I can do this and do that. Like we were really simulating like onboarding week maybe. So that was for me very, very positive, but I got rejected for the role.
Why?
I don't know, because they said like this is it, like rejection, and you can let me know if you have any questions. And I asked for detailed feedback, and there was silence. I was like, all right, you're not my dream company anymore.
This is exactly what we have been just discussing, and it's such a shame because I know that many businesses ruin their own reputation. There is like millions of euros being invested in employer branding, and then such easy things, especially on such a small market. Let's say tech in Berlin, we all know each other. We're like 10 companies, and then when this is happening in the end, you already have such a negative aftertaste left from the company's behavior. So it doesn't matter what exactly they're going to invest and show you on the LinkedIn ads or on the banners or Kanunu ratings, right? Like this was your experience and our personal experience. Our brain always rates higher than some theoretical concept. So it's such a shame, and I really hope the companies would learn from it. And I have to bring up one more positive example from one of my past employers, namely Home Day, where I had the pleasure to work with a fantastic recruiter, Hi Wolf, and we have been hiring for one of the roles, which became, during the hiring process, the internal situation of the company changed and the role was not needed any longer. And we had this very good candidate to whom we just couldn't make this decision because things were changing so fast on the market. And Wolf was on my neck every 3 days saying, Anna, we need to write something back to the candidate. She's waiting. We can't stay silent. We need to give the candidate the feedback. Anna, did you think about the feedback? Anna, would you like to have a maybe intermediary call with her, and let her know what's going on? And I loved it because he really tried to serve the interests of the candidates and still seeing them as a human who is invested their time, who is waiting for this feedback. And he was making my life very difficult in this regard to push me to make this decision, even though, you know, not everything was clear already. He was like, if it's a no, just say it's a no. It's like, but I don't know. What if it's a yes? What if tomorrow things change? But I
So
think it's great to have those recruiters on board who care so much and who keep the candidate in mind, you know, for themselves, and push the hiring managers to come to conclusions to keep communication running.
yeah, so much empathy. That's a must for this kind of roles. That's
Absolutely.
for sure. So I had a question, but I guess we covered it regarding the conditions which make you comfortable at interviews. You mentioned about active listening. Do you have any other examples in mind?
Yes, absolutely. Eye-to-eye dialogue. So this is extremely important to me because I think what we should always keep in mind, and this is also what I was always trying to keep in mind, and not just say it but leave it. When we're during the interview, it's always two sides road. It's not just the candidate trying to sell their experience to us as a company, as a hiring manager, but we try to sell ourselves to the candidate and to make ourselves attractive for this particular candidate. And some companies say it is, but then during the interview it doesn't feel this way. And this is why, for me, one of the best conditions you can establish as a hiring manager: have a dialogue, be genuinely interested, let the other person ask you questions. Don't make it like interrogation, you know. And this is sometimes how the interviews feel like, you know, you're going to so much of this very small irrelevant details, you know, and you almost have a feeling that people try to catch you lying and kind of double check of what you're saying, which might be one of the methods, but not my favorite one. So having this eye-to-eye discussion, for me, I think is the best way for both candidates and recruiters to come to understanding or to simulation how you're going to work together on a day-to-day basis, right?
Yeah, it should be the culture, the mindset for all the sessions you are going to have for a role. That's for sure. So let's wrap it up with your suggestions for the companies and candidates who are searching for jobs currently.
Absolutely. So my recommendations for the candidates: stay positive, stay calm, right? Don't be scared. The company which is a fit is out there, and sooner or later every one of us will find a job. That much it's just statistically guaranteed, you know. One way or another we'll all find it. So don't let the fear push you into the decisions which you might regret a couple of months later, because the job is such an investment. We're spending so much time at work, and most of us are spending also a lot of energy and brain capacity, you know, on the workplace. So I think it's extremely important to find the company where you will be a good fit, where you feel you can stay for longer, where you feel you can contribute and feel fulfilled. And when you're scared whether you can have something to eat tomorrow or not, that's really hard, right? Like, this is hopefully not many of us are exactly in this situation. So this is for the candidates. For the companies, stay transparent, stay human, you know, as much as you can. You know, it's clear you can't share everything, but sharing the feedback, some sort of feedback, keeping the candidate updated, and respecting the time of the candidate as well as you respect your own time. I think it's very important. But I think the most important, see the candidates not as hierarchical position in a way, see them as sparring partners, as eye-to-eye level partners, right? Because in the end of the day, ideally you will be working together, maybe not today, maybe tomorrow, maybe in a year. So have a dialogue and have a discussion which will be on the equal level for you. Yeah.
Thank you very much. You have been more than a guest, a motivational coach for the candidates, and also kind of the interviewer asking me questions. You have contributed so much. Thanks a lot, Anna, for joining.
Thanks
And
for inviting, Elif. It's been my pleasure.
yeah, my pleasure also. Like looking forward to more projects together. Oh, my cat. Needing attention. So I will hope to see you all with your comments and likes, and stay tuned for next episodes.
Bye, everyone.